Hey guys, this week's episode is brought to you by buffalosbigdeal.com. What's the big deal? It's free. Their deals get you 50% off your favorite local places, no need to pay for a gift certificate. Simply download, print, and display your voucher when you visit. So head to buffalosbigdeal.com after this podcast. Today's guest is Deb Clark, the owner of Delish. Deb came out and talked about her start in the culinary world, why she opened up a sweet shop, and how she likes being in Black Rock. Let's get to it.
So I was looking it up today because I was curious how long you've been at the new Black Rock location. It looks like you've been there just over a year now.
Yes, Friday was our 1-year birthday of reopening on Amherst St.
How's it been the last year at the new location?
It's been good. It's been a little stressful. It wasn't, as most people know, it wasn't exactly a planned move.
Yeah.
It was under stressed circumstances, but the space, just turned out to be so perfect for us.
It's a gorgeous space.
It really is. Thank you very much. It just works out that logistically, it's what I wanted from the beginning. I was really hoping to find something that would be all on one floor, and I wanted to have the open bakery, where you can look back, because I've always loved that when I've seen it in different cities. But I couldn't do that at the other place because it was the 2 stories.
Yeah, you go in there and you see you back there.
Yeah, I'm back there. It really works. Frosting cakes and doing my thing.
Yeah.
So after all the pain of moving, literally and figuratively, it turned out to be really great, and it's working out really well for us. We're just as busy as we were. We're just it's sort of flipped, which is really odd. Like, we're busier at night here.
Oh, really?
And slower during the day. But we're making the same amount of money just at different times of the day, which is I don't know why that is, or I can't figure it out. There's no way to analyze why it is, but as long as it's good, then I don't want to analyze it. I don't want to figure it out. Just let it happen.
I don't blame you. I mean, so when you found out that you were leaving your Elmwood spot on, I think, Elmwood in Auburn, right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, was Black Rock on your radar at all? Because it's really recently had this resurgence. Well, with you, with Black Rock Kitchen, the Ethiopian place. All those are pretty recent. Were you even considering that area?
Well, I wasn't considering moving at all.
Well, yeah.
So that being said, I'm friends with the guys that own Room on Hurdle.
Okay.
And when they were first moving in there about 1.5 years prior to this whole thing happening with me, they were really trying to talk me into moving there with them. They had a beautiful spot, coincidentally, and ironically, where Spot is now.
Okay.
They're like, this would be so perfect for you. And I'm like, yeah, it would, but I don't want to move. I'm thinking, that's the last thing I want to do is move. Do you know how much it would cost to pick up and move this business that I have set up here? And I sort of, I said, thank you. I'm really flattered. It's so nice of you to think of me, but, I'm just not in the market to do that. So then I went back and, meanwhile, Hurdle just blows up in that year, and there was nothing to be had on Hurdle. So Hurdle was my first thought.
Okay.
Only because of having friends that already had businesses there.
Yeah, it's
the
nice.
Camaraderie would have been really nice.
It does have a very neighborhood feel to the street.
It does. And North Buffalo is great. And, I never really thought about going in the suburbs, not once.
You were going to stick to the city.
My immediate response was, I really want to try to stay on Elmwood, but I think I would have had the same problem on Elmwood, because it's the same type of situation with the types of landlords that I went through. My problem with was just it's jumping from what do they say, from the fire into the flame.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I found a space 2 days after I found out that I had to move, and it was the notorious Elmwood Avenue landlord that everybody knows.
Yes,
and
well documented.
My attorney is like, don't you dare! You're not desperate. It's been 1 day. You've got to settle down. And I said, just let's look at the lease. And so he sends over the lease, and it's a 48-page lease.
Oh.
And she's like, Debbie, and we're just like, 48 pages. We're just looking and scrolling down. We're like, you've got to be kidding. Who needs a 48-page lease unless you're trying to get away with a whole lot of little somethings,
Yeah,
so. that, I figured, I can't be so narrow-minded, and I can't, about it, just because it was such a shock that I was having such success on Elmwood that, of course, you don't want to, you don't want to mess with it. But then, I had known about Mark Goldman doing his thing on Amherst Street, and, frankly, I would pretty much follow that guy wherever he went, because he is a pioneer, and he always has been. I mean, I had a place on Main Street, near Chippewa, many years ago, right when he was opening up the Calumet.
Okay.
And, everyone was like, what is he, nuts? What is he doing? There were still weird things going on across the street. I don't even know how to say it. Yeah, how do I say it with some tact? So everyone thought he was pretty much nuts, but I mean, look what he did, and he really, there's no two ways about it. He has to get credit for what happened at Chippewa.
Yeah,
and I mean, that's what he does for a living. He does urban planning. He does research. I decided to just go down the street, take a look, see if there were any empty buildings. I went in, I made a phone call, went in and looked at one. And about no more than 3 hours later, I get a phone call from another woman who owns a bunch of buildings on the block. She's like, I heard you were looking at and I was like, how do you know? And then 10 minutes later, Mark Goldman calls. He goes, he was talking so fast, he was so excited, I had no idea what he said. And then I'm like, who is this? He goes, it's Mark Goldman. Oh my God, I heard you coming on Amherst Street. Oh my God, it would be so good. And he's going absolutely nuts on the phone. And then I just thought, you know what? I do want to be a part of this, and I kid about them, the neighborhood just getting so excited about the possibility of moving into the neighborhood, and it just was wow. It was such a good feeling, and it was like, okay, I think maybe I belong here, with these kind of people, and people who are forward thinking and rent that's certainly more in line with it, that just makes sense. And so. That's what made me decide to,
nice.
And
I like going down, like, it's, for some reason, it's become, like, our Sunday, like, morning type area, where I love to, like, go down there, or, like, Saturday morning, like, grab some sausage from Spar's, get a treat from your shop. I mean, it's an awesome
That's a lot of people. Well, for me, I sort of thought, I drive down the street at least once a week to go to Wegmans. Mm-hmm. So that to me, made me think, of course I like to go to Gershio's, and I like to go to the little shops for things that for fresh produce and meats. I go to a meat market and things like that, all neighborhood places and all locally owned. But everybody needs paper towels. Everybody needs toilet paper. So everybody goes to Wegmans.
If you live in the city, you've been to that Wegmans. And
so that's one of the things that made me to think of the traffic that was there. That so it's an area that people normally, or hadn't up till recently, thought about being a really nice retail area. But then again, everybody drives down there at least once a week. Most people more than that. So. All those things, and that the big church across the street, really made me think about it, because, wow, I mean, that place, that has the highest membership of any church in the city of Buffalo.
Oh, wow.
It's huge.
Wow.
And they have bingo 2 days a week. During the day. That's what I said. I laughed about it. You know how many people go to bingo there every Tuesday? Like 500.
Jeez.
500 people at 1 o'clock in the afternoon come in. It's like you could stand there and just watch all the cars boom, 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 come in and park, and they just come out, and there's lots of little things that happen within that neighborhood. It's a really good neighborhood association. The Grand Amherst Association is really tight.
Nice.
And they're all really good people, and they're all people that, if they don't own businesses, they might not even own a business, but they might own property, and they own the property, so they really care about the neighborhood. But I'll be damned if I've ever saw a landlords from Elmwood going to any business meetings, because they care about the neighborhood, and they care about the businesses. So that was just a really nice feeling of that camaraderie that was in that neighborhood. So
Good. I'm glad it's worked out too.
Yeah, me too. It's like, phew. Thank goodness.
So, I guess let's talk about the start of how you got into the culinary world to begin with. I mean, growing up, I mean, were you surrounded with food and those types of things that got you started? Or?
Not necessarily. I mean, my mom was a really good cook. I love to help her cook.
Yeah.
I'd like beg her to let me cook dinner, so I always enjoyed it, but I never thought of a career until, I was going into a whole different line. I from the time, my best friend, my oldest friend, her mom was a psychiatrist.
Okay.
She's retired now. And she ran Buffalo Psychiatric Center, the adolescent unit at Buffalo Psychiatric Center. So my friend and I used to volunteer for her a lot, and we'd go and we'd be like peer models, and we'd go camping with them and do all sorts of things with them. And her mom was sort of my mentor, and, we were very close, and so I decided at a really early age, like 7th grade, 8th grade, that I wanted to be a psychiatrist. Okay. And that was it. It was all that I knew that I ever wanted to do. But I was always very artistic. Like in high school, I did a lot of art classes. And so I was always really enjoyed art as well, and crafts and, just like girly stuff, sewing and things like that. I love to bake and decorate cakes. But I was in school, and I was, in pre-med and ready to, just move forward and thinking that was going to be it. Yeah. Never, ever doubting it the whole time. And then I got a job cooking dinner for the nuns at Duville College, like a work job, through, I was going to Canisius. Okay. And it was like a work job that they got me to go over and cook dinner for these nuns. And it was, it was truly life-changing. They were so into it, and they were just so excited that someone was there that knew how to cook. And they'd come down and they'd compliment me and say that no one has ever cooked them dinners like that before. And then they'd started coming in and sitting down and watching me and talking with me while I was cooking. It was just...
This is kind of like a foreshadowing of things to come with your classes.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was just so rewarding in a way that I never really felt before. Yeah. That they were so appreciative, and they just loved what I did, and I just got such pleasure out of it. And I sort of thought, wow, I kind of like this. Yeah. And much to my parents' dismay, I thought that maybe I would, get a job in a restaurant and see what it was like. Yeah. And I did, and I liked it, and
so this is like actual cooking now.
Yes. Then I was cooking in a restaurant. It was the old No Name that you're too young to remember. It was on Bidwell, across the street from where Cafe Aroma is. There's a bar there now. I don't know what the name of it is. And I really liked it. And I was continuing to go to school, and then I just sort of decided that I was actually, I forgot about this. I started making these chocolate pies that I started selling to restaurants, and I didn't have a car, so I was taking a cab to deliver these cakes. I didn't have boxes ready; they just would bring them in there on a cookie tray. Nice. And I was doing that, and then somebody had asked me about trying to help them with a menu with a sandwich shop somewhere, and I just was really getting into the whole food thing. Yeah. And then I got hired at Just Pasta, which was a restaurant on Bryant Street for a number of years.
Yeah, I think that's now Trattoria Aroma. Right?
Yes, and I was really started cooking there. That was my first real cooking job. I was a chef there, and I was there for a number of years. And it started to be so successful, became so successful that they ended up hiring somebody else who was a trained chef because they needed it. They were so busy. I didn't know how to butcher meat or fish.
So
or
when you went
like
back
that.
to school, you finished the psychology.
No, I dropped out. I dropped out because I wanted to work in restaurants. And I thought, maybe I might want to do this as a career. Okay. And but I wanted to work for a year and see. Okay. And then a year turned into 2 years, and then when they hired this guy to sort of be my boss when I had been running the place, I was like, well, I don't like this at all. So I'm never going to let this happen again. So then I decided to go away and go to the Culinary Institute.
Yes.
And then I did
CIA.
that. Yeah, then I was going to the CIA. And
how was that? I mean, were your parents on board?
At that point they were. Then they realized that it was, I wasn't going to be like an army cook or something. they realized that I could actually make a career and be a professional chef, which sounded better than, schlepping in a restaurant or peeling potatoes or something. Going from pre-med to peeling potatoes, it wasn't really there. They didn't like that idea too much. But I
mean, so going to CIA, I mean, that's. I mean, I've talked to like Ross Warhol and stuff like that's that's when you're getting serious.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. And at the time when I went, there weren't that many women that had gone, and
really?
There was just there was an article like that came out in the New York Times about like 6 months before. It was like a year. I had to wait a year to get in at the time, and it was about how like horrible the chefs are and how mean they are, and it's like boot is worse than boot camp, and I was like shaking in my boots thinking, oh my god, what have I gotten myself into? And at the time, it was like 25 men to one woman.
Wow.
And I thought that's kind of scary, and then I went, wait a minute, that could be kind of fun. so it ended up being lots of fun. So it was a little more daring at that time. Now people don't think twice about girls going there. But at the time, it was there weren't that many women who were doing it.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it was a pretty big deal, and it was just beautiful campus, and I mean, I just had a great time. Because I had already been through college. I was 24 when I went there, so I was older than most of the kids in my class. Okay, there weren't that many. It wasn't like a regular college where it would be like 17 or 18 years old, because you had to have, at the time that I went there, you had to have 2 years working in a professional kitchen before you could apply to it. So they were 20s, but I was maybe 3 or 4 years older than some of them, and it was good because it was difficult, but it was super fun, and I got into it more than I got into like any other college or high school. I mean, I joined clubs, and I did wine club.
Yeah,
who doesn't want to like go to wine club every Tuesday night, or they were just I never did that before. So
it was like a reaffirming thing where it confirmed in you that I wanted to do this
definitely
type of thing.
Definitely, and I really, really enjoyed it.
I mean, so obviously, was this in New York City?
Poughkeepsie.
Oh, Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie Hyde Park. That was the only one they had at the time.
Yeah.
Now they have beautiful campuses all over.
Yeah.
2 other ones are.
So, I mean, as you're there, were you thinking that you still want to come back to Buffalo, or were you starting to get a feel for the big city?
No, I didn't. I hadn't really thought that far ahead. Mm-hmm. I knew that I probably was going to work. I was going to try to work for some famous chefs somewhere around. Yeah, and I didn't really, at the time, I wasn't sure where I was going to end up, but as fate would have it, I ended up going and doing my externship, which is halfway through the program, down in Florida. And it was from October till February. So I figured, well, I'm either going to go in the sun or I'm going to go to some ski country.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a job with this really famous chef. He was like, at the time, one of the top, only 10 certified executive chef. Master chefs. Not certified executive. Master chefs that do, now I think there's 150 or something in the worldwide. He was one of 10 in the world. Yeah. And I got a job, working for him, and he just happened to be in Daytona Beach, Florida, where his restaurant was like, oh, okay. That question's solved.
That could be fun.
And so it ended up being a pretty good experience. It wasn't what I would hoped for. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
He wasn't there half the time. And, while I was there, he and his wife got a divorce and he moved to a different city. I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
Not getting that
But she said, I'll fill out all the information for you so you don't have to lose your externship. And I said, okay. And so then I went back and finished school, and I was still deciding what I was going to do. And Don Wharf, who was the owner of Just Pasta, and we had become friends with, well, I worked there for such a long time, and he was opening up a restaurant in Palm Beach, Just Pasta in Palm Beach, like the week I was graduating from school, and said, asked me if I wanted to come down and help him open it up, and I did.
Wow.
And it was...
and so this whole time, are you primarily, you're doing, cooking, like
regular cooking, yes.
Yeah,
I'm
not
a
baking.
Chef. Yeah. No, I'm a regular chef too. So I'm a regular chef first and foremost, and then after it took a couple years after I graduated to realize that I really hated the hours. I hated being the only woman in the kitchen with, these crazy chefs night after night.
I've read Kitchen Confidential. It can get a little rowdy.
It's every bit of it's true. and it was, I'm a morning person, and so it was difficult for me once I was doing it in real life.
Yeah.
And so I thought the few classes that I had in baking at the CIA, I was really good at it. And I thought, I'd really like to try to pursue this angle of it. It's a little more girly. The hours are better. A little more creative. In a way that I like to be creative. And so I was working for this really wonderful French guy in Philadelphia in this wonderful restaurant called Restaurant Taquet, and he had a friend who was the pastry chef at Le Bec Fen, which is had been known for like one of the top 10 restaurants in the world for like 15 years in a row. And the pastry chef was a friend of the owner of the restaurant I was working at, and he was branching off on his own, opening up his own place called Au Petit Delish. And Jean-Francois was so wonderful. He was so generous and amazing that he said, I hate to lose you, but I can't give you what you want. I know you want to go into pastries, and I know you're going to be really good at it, and you're going to be really happy with it. So he let me go to this guy, and that's where this guy hired me because I had such a great recommendation, and to be his assistant, which was like, I'd never had a pastry job before, so it was pretty amazing that I was able to get the his first assistant position for a world famous pastry chef like that.
Yeah, that's pretty.
And that's where I learned so much from him.
Yeah,
I'm still using the recipes now.
Oh, really?
I'm still using the same recipes.
Because in the CIA they go over everything, but I have to imagine it's a couple weeks on everything.
Right.
You're going to do baking, but you're not going to really.
Well, now they have an all baking, like a 2-year baking program.
Oh yeah.
So they didn't have that then.
Yeah.
So I knew a little bit.
Yeah.
And
but then you got like
it was a little different than the the little chocolate silk pies that I was delivering in the taxi. A little different than that, but I just sort of had a natural talent for it because it's sort of an artistic thing that I don't know, it just came pretty natural to me.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And it's very precise, and I like precise. You have to measure, you have to weigh, and I like that.
Yeah.
I love cooking. I love doing regular savory cooking as well because, throw this in, throw that in.
Yeah, it's a little bit more improvisational.
Yeah, and that's great. I love cooking like that. But I really like the precision of baking, and I love the precision of the decorating. And, it's a whole different thing that I find really thrilling. So
nice.
That's how I started doing that.
So what made you come back to Buffalo then?
I was, as I said, I was living in Philly, and I had a friend. It was actually an old boyfriend of mine I was really close with his family, and he had a brother who was an attorney who just had this huge settlement. He just made just a ton of money. And he had said, he had called me and said, listen, and my friend had come to visit me in Philly, and, he knew that I would ideally, it's everybody's dream, especially when you're first starting because you don't know any better, to open up your own place.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. It's like, oh, just don't run. But, that's what I wanted to do. And, a lot of my friends and family wanted me back in Buffalo. And so he said, he would front the money for me. He'd back me.
Nice.
And I came back into town and moved here, and then started conversations with him, it sort of ended up that he was really looking for a way to lose money, you know. And I thought, well, what does that do to my reputation if I'm not successful? So it sort of it didn't work out. It didn't work out. But I still have like a lot of friends that were in the business. I think Paul Jenkins gave me a job. I worked at this Bean Alley Cafe. I mean, all these places that we've all been friends forever.
Yeah. It's a pretty tight-knit community.
Yeah, we've just been, friends since we were in our early 20s. And so then I ended up opening up a wholesale pastry place where I was supplying desserts to restaurants and private clubs. And I did that for a number of years.
And was that helpful? Just already knowing a lot of like restaurant owners, so you kind of had like an inside.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just and a lot of them were just starting out. Like Hutch's was just opening, and La Metro, and I mean, at one time I was doing desserts for 14 restaurants.
Wow.
And delivering them, and so it was a lot of work, but it was really fun. I enjoyed it, and I didn't work a lot of hours because I'm pretty organized. So it was great. And then a few of my friends had opened different types of shops on Elmwood, and it was when it was just sort of like the resurgence was sort of just starting to simmer, and I found myself just wanting to hang out there. Like every Saturday, I'd like ride my bike over and just like hang out on their stairs in front of their shops, and just said, I had mentioned one of my accounts. I'd mentioned that, boy, I would really love to do something, on the street. And he said, well, I happen to own a building on Elmwood that I'm thinking of redoing. And I said, really? And so we should talk about it. And we did. And that's how I ended up on Elmwood. And just decided to do retail. And then the space was set up the way it was with the 2 levels. I thought, boy, wouldn't it be cool to do a cooking school?
Yeah.
Along with it, it's like 2 dreams. Yeah, this is let's crazy, but let's try it. Yeah, and that's how.
And almost like a flashback of the nuns, basically. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy how that happened like that.
Yeah, it is.
So actually. I mean, you've done the cooking classes since day one of Delish. I mean, was that?
It was part of the plan. It was part of the business plan from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, is that a way? I mean, because I know you some of them, then you have other people come in and do them on occasion.
I did most of the time now. I did them for the first 2.5 years, I think. Okay, and I just was so exhausted because
I mean, you're on the whole time.
Yeah, and I would be there at like 7 or 8 in the morning, and then it's 3:00. I'm gonna go for a walk, or I'm gonna I don't drink coffee, so I'm like trying to. Yeah. I tried like a latte one day, and I was like flying for 2 days, and just to try to gotta wake up, gotta get pumped up to do the class, and I just was exhausted, and I knew that it wasn't the right thing for the business to have me like up there and maybe not be
stretched a little too thin.
Yeah, stretched a little too thin, and you could tell it was just really starting to wear on me.
Yeah,
and as much as I enjoyed it, and I couldn't really give up running the business.
No.
So it was. I found through the years great friends and chefs that taught the classes, and we had people splitting it up for a while, and it's a really, really fun job for somebody. But
I mean, I haven't been to one, but I've seen I've gone to the shop and seen the classes going, and it seems like
they're great. Yeah. People love them, and I went ahead and got a beer and wine license so people can have a drink while they're sitting in the classes, and we
fun.
do and I've always found really great people to teach the classes, and we do private parties and private cooking parties. We do a lot of team building events for corporations and things like that. I just booked 2 of them today, as a matter of fact. So it's really fun, and we get a lot of return customers. So that's always good on that end. It's something different for them to do.
And for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's basically like somebody's cooking in front of a class of people. Because Because it wasn't at one point that everyone was kind of cooking.
Well, we have that. We have most of the classes are demonstration classes,
Okay.
so it's like watching a live cooking show.
Yeah.
All right, but you get to ask questions and you get to eat all the food.
Yeah. Which sounds pretty.
Which sounds better than watching TV at home. And some are hands-on, and I really thought in the beginning that most people would want hands-on, but it just didn't turn out that way.
People just want to sit there and eat.
Like I asked these ladies would come to lots of classes, and I'd say, I'm really surprised that the hands-on classes aren't filling up. Like the other ones are just like, oh no, we want to come here and drink wine and watch you cook. It's like, why would we want to do it ourselves? So we try to do like, for the winter time, I'll try to do like Saturday afternoon classes. I'm going to try to do all of those hands-on, so the people who want the hands-on experience can do it.
Yeah.
Like we always do a sushi class once a month, things like that you can't. I mean, you have to touch and you have to do it yourself. But there aren't that many recipes that lend themselves well to having 18 people doing hands-on at the same time.
Yeah.
Unless you break up into groups, which we do for the private parties. But then you don't get to do everything.
Yeah.
So you do like, 1 out of 4 or 5 items, which works out sometimes too. But it just, there aren't that many recipes that work well for a hands-on experience for that many people. So, and baking classes, I don't do very many baking classes.
No. Well, I mean, it's a little long, wouldn't it be? Or...
Well, I don't want to teach anyone how to bake. I want them to come buy the stuff from me.
Good point.
The people come in and they go, when are you going to do cookie classes and get us all your cookie recipes? Never.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
When are you going to give us your cupcake recipes? Next to never.
Yeah, because cooking is one thing where everyone can put little. Right. But, baking, like you said, it's pretty
recipes.
Strict. Yeah.
These recipes, I fought for those recipes. I cried working for a mean French chef to hear those recipes. I'm not giving them up to anyone. I pry them out of my dead hands.
Yeah, you put your time in for this.
Yeah. So, but I usually do one baking class, 1 or 2, like usually a series before, during the holidays. I'll do like candy making before Easter, and I'll do some. I'm going to plan some cookies and some holiday, like fancy holiday dessert classes for December.
Yeah,
but classes they're sort of hard to do in 2 hours too.
Yeah,
there's a lot of you can't just start bake a cake and batter and then bake it, let it cool, and frost it, make buttercream, all that in 2 hours. You can't.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of shortcuts where you're saying, oh, then we'll put it in the magic oven, and then look, an hour later it comes out. And so I don't know if you
borrow the TV magic a little bit.
Yeah, exactly, in the magic oven. If the people get so much from those, the decorating, we usually don't even show them the baking. They just want to learn how to decorate a cake, and that's fine.
Yeah. And
so those classes always fill up. I'll do those a couple times a year.
Yeah.
But that's about it as far as baking. It's almost strictly savory cooking.
Yeah. And also with your new location, you started doing like more like coffee and things like that too.
We brought Stumptown coffee into town.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, we were the first ones to bring Stumptown into Buffalo. And now there's a couple other places that have it.
Yeah, I think somewhere in East Aurora does.
Yep.
But, yeah.
And Filling Station.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
But that's okay, because I make their desserts. So we're still got our hands in there.
How has that been? I mean,
it's been great.
I don't know. I mean, you said you're not a big coffee person.
I don't drink coffee at all.
So you kind of leave it up
great.
to you leave it up to the other. Yeah.
I leave it up to everybody else, and I hear that it's fabulous stuff. I have trusted friends and family that try it, and the staff, of course.
Yeah, so, was it something with the location that you just thought like?
Well, I had enough room to do it, know, and I thought with the church being there and Buff State being so close, and I met with Prish and talked to her, and she's like, "You'd be crazy not to do it. There's nothing like that in the neighborhood."
Yeah,
she goes, "I'm the closest one, and I'm so far away from that."
Yeah,
and so she was really, I think people just are floored to hear things like that.
Yeah,
She would
encourage
me to open something a mile away from her.
Yeah,
but really, it's that's how chefs in the or in the city are. We're like we're all friends, and you don't you think of things if there's more clustered, then it just helps everybody. And nobody thinks, no, just stay away. I want all the business to myself. Because you don't want to be an island in the middle of nowhere either.
No, no.
It helps if you're more of a community, and there's certainly enough people out there for all of us. So,
yeah.
I had the space for it and decided that it would definitely, how could that not complement what I'm already doing?
Exactly,
and I ended up, expanding and doing, some breakfast and lunch items now too. So, you got to have you might as well have the nice coffee to go along with it.
Yeah, the whole deal.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
What's another $12,000 for a coffee maker?
Yeah, that thing's pretty serious.
Drop in the bucket. Why not?
Well, I think I'll wrap up. So, what are your goals and ambitions for the location in the next year or so? I mean, I've heard that there's actually 2 more restaurants coming to Amherst Street a little bit further down from you. So, I mean, it seems like that area is only going to get more, traffic and attention.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. Just, to hold steady. And I've actually picked up a couple wholesale accounts that I haven't done in a long time. And it just worked out, the timing. And it's, places that I respect. And I've worked with Bacchus before. I'm doing the desserts for Bacchus again. And they were one of my accounts when I was doing the wholesale. And I'm working with the people at Larkinville, which is just like
that place. I mean, that is one of the
awesome.
Next to Amherst Street, like that's one of the best success stories.
They're incredible to work with. They're just incredible to work with. I
suck. I still have not been there.
Oh, jeez! Tonight's the last concert. We should wrap this up and go. It's so fun, and they're just so professional, and everything is just done perfectly.
Yeah.
They're really good people, and now they're starting catering, so that's going to expand more on the wholesale, and they're opening up a restaurant across the street from the filling station,
really?
like a high-end restaurant.
Nice.
That they compared to like a Hutch's or Bacchus. So
that'll be awesome.
I'll do the desserts for that as well. So that's sort of where I'm going with that. Just keep going steady with the classes. We added more classes. We're doing classes Monday through Friday evenings and Saturday at noon.
That's a busy location.
It's busy. Yeah, the classes are doing really well, and I'm pleased to say that they're keeping steady, and I'm hoping that when people start coming in for lunch, we're going to start doing some advertising probably with Buff State. I don't get a lot of the students in, which I'm surprised at.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why that is, but
yeah, I don't know.
I've talked to Marcus from 464 Gallery.
Okay, yeah.
I think we're going to do some advertising. We just spoke today about that in the Buff State paper.
It's definitely got enough cool stuff to have kids come over.
I'm not sure where they're. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they're just too focused on Elmwood and don't realize they got behind.
But I think they're supposed to be building a bridge that comes over to Amherst Street from Buff State too.
Okay.
So there's, it's just full of possibilities.
Oh yeah.
So, I'm just going to sit tight for now and hold on and hope that the ride gets pretty crazy.
Right.
I'm ready.
Well, Deb, thank you so much for coming down here.
Thanks.
It was a pleasure talking to you. And,
you too.
And I love what you guys do over there at Delish. So
thank you very much.
Keep it up.
Okay, I will.
All right.
Thanks.